think many people decide originally that they want to write true crime, except if it comes to them for some reason. A lot of people who are involved in law enforcement or who are affected in some way by crime. In my case, it happened basically in my backyard. And it was such an incredible story that I just felt compelled to ask more and more questions. I was already writing. I was working at the time actually in Japan, and I cold called an agent, and he asked me if I'd written anything before. I had actually worked on the memoirs of a KGB agent who was spying in Japan and defected to the United States. He said, "You're living where?" And I said, "In Tokyo." And he said, "Well, this is what you need to do." And he walked me through it. So I didn't realize how challenging it would be, but it was a really good introduction into the craft of writing long form. I was a journalist, I wrote for magazines, but I'd never written something so challenging. And that really formed the basis of my writing style that carried over into a second true crime book, and then birthed my two crime novels, The Edge of Normal and What Doesn't Kill Her, the most recent one. So the research really informs the writing when you're writing crime fiction. Audiences are so sophisticated now because of all the CSI stuff. They know quite a bit about the law, and as the author, you need to do way more research than you'll ever use. Generally, you use maybe 10 to 20%, but you need the whole foundation. You need to keep researching until you start hearing the same things over and over, and then you know you've really got your basis. The first book I wrote, Perfect Victim, was such an incredible story about kidnapping and prolonged captivity. It was a story about Stockholm Syndrome, about mind control, and amazingly, the community didn't believe that it was true. It was so unfathomable that somebody would be held captive for 7 years. This was before Elizabeth Smart, and before the women in Ohio who were rescued, before J.C. Dugard, that a lot of people know that she was kidnapped in Tahoe. But a similar kind of story. But it was the kind of thing that just, it takes root in your soul. I mean, you live that story. While you're covering the trial, you get to know all the people, and unlike a lot of true crime books, the victim, survived. It wasn't a murder story, although there is a murder element in it. And, it becomes almost your personal history from researching and writing the book. Anytime you write a book, it's an investment of a lot of time and mental energy. People would say, "How can you write that stuff? Doesn't it give you nightmares?" And I say, of course it does. If you're doing it right, it has to. So I wanted to write something. I knew I wanted to write a novel, and when I graduated, I got my MFA. I graduated in 2009, and I'd been trying to write fiction unsuccessfully, and then the J.C. Dugard story happened. And I thought, I really want to write something about a survivor of kidnapping and captivity who finds an inner strength and then helps other survivors. And so that really spawned this series, The Edge of Normal, and then What Doesn't Kill Her, have taken that character and brought her in, a very young woman, who kind of bridges the fact and the fiction and satisfies my own inner need for vindication.